you have cell phones, would you please shut them off, turn them off? Because the cell phones start going off, the LTC will run havoc with the technician, and it will be bedlam. So, including everyone in the council meeting, just shut off your cell phones, please. Thank you.
Thank you, honey. And a couple. Here's the budget, honey. Here's this budget. Here's this. Transportation Subcommittee too. Both of them.
Would everyone please rise while we honor America by saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
So it's easy, these are on your side.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin.
Here.
Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Fattacante.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. Special order of business, a public hearing on inter-district school choice programs. I will read a communication to members of the Lowell School Committee from Chris A. Scott, Superintendent of Lowell Public Schools, date May 13, 2009, school choice participation, a vote, school year 2009-2010. Please be advised that as required under state school choice law, each school committee must annually review and adopt a position regarding inter-district school choice following a public hearing. Therefore, a public hearing will be held at the beginning of the regularly scheduled school meeting of May 20th, 2009. The committee will adopt its position following the public hearing on May 20th. The superintendent will be recommending for the 2009-2010 school year that the Lowell School Committee once again reject participating in the inter-district school choice program. The rationale is continued lack of space and the impact of the projected enrollment to house our own students at all grade levels. Motion to accept the communication by Regina
Motion to
Fattacante.
accept the communication, Your Honor.
Seconded by Ms. Doherty. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Communication is accepted and placed on file. Ms. Doherty.
Motion to accept the recommendations by the superintendent.
Motion
Second.
to accept the recommendation by the superintendent to reject inter-school choice, seconded by Mr. Conway. Let's take a roll call on that.
Mr. Leahy.
Right.
Mr. Leahy.
Okay. Yes.
Correct. Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes?
7 yeas to reject, approved.
Thank you. Moving on with the agenda. This evening, at approximately 6:15, the mayor and the school committee and the superintendent of schools and the assistant superintendents of Lowell Public Schools had a reception for 56 very dedicated teachers who are retiring. And those 56 teachers contributed 1,486 years of service to the children of this great city. Would everyone please put their hands together? Thank you. That was well appreciated. I know, and everyone knows, that of the years of service, these teachers, somewhere along the line, probably many times, reached in their own pocket to help a child, to help a student, purchase a book, probably even buy mittens. And that dedication, that commitment you don't learn in any university or any college. And it was a pleasure for me as the mayor to wish them well, Godspeed, good health, and present them with a citation this evening. And with that said, God bless you for your dedication and your commitment to the children of this great city. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting by Jackie Doherty, seconded by Ms. Fattacani. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have been accepted and adopted and placed on file. Permission to enter, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the University of Massachusetts, the Donahue Institute, for the amount of $10,062 to develop an interview guide to be used to complete case studies of families participating in the Even Start program, interviews with parents, completion of the report to document family outcomes, funding provided by the Even Start grant. That's it, Your Honor.
Move approval by Connie Martin, seconded by Jim Leary. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes. They didn't want to.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
It's 56 names.
Miss Doherty,
Yes.
Miss Fattacante. 7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. It is not on the agenda under memorials, but I would like to have a moment of silence for Dr. Chambers, for Mary Newell, a very loving wife, mother, grandmother, sister, member of a large respected family in our city, and anyone who participated in the Calvary Park Little League in the Highlands knew Mary Newell and a loving husband very well. And she's just a delightful woman and did an awful lot for children. So if we could please rise, Dr. Chambers, for a moment of silence for Mary. Thank you. May she rest in peace. Subcommittee reports. The Finance Subcommittee report and approved of the minutes of May 11, 2009. James Leary, Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee meeting met on May 11th. In attendance were the entire school committee. I'll be brief with it because I think a lot of the budget issues will be discussed both under the Facilities Subcommittee later by Mr. Leahy, as well as under the Superintendent's portion of the budget, the FY10 budget presentation. And obviously, next week we'll begin our first real budget discussions. I think it's on the 27th, Mayor, next Wednesday, or the 26th. I don't have the calendar in front of
I
me.
believe the 27th, there's a problem with the council
Okay.
chambers is being used.
Okay.
So I talked to June Cormier today and the superintendent, and the 27th, we're going to have to reschedule.
Okay. Well, I guess the next day would be that Saturday, which would be the 29th, 30th. Again, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but when we get forward in the superintendent's presentation, we can have more of oh, thank you for the calendar, which would be the 30th. We can have more discussion when the superintendent goes through the budget process. We did discuss the budget at length. Many things, the superintendent proposed many ideas in terms of school changes, operation changes. Again, we're going to have public participation tonight regarding that. The Facilities Subcommittee will cover that in greater detail, and we can all speak on that going forward. One issue that we did discuss that was important was a motion that the Finance Subcommittee wants to bring before the full committee, and that's essentially looking at the food service operation in terms of ways and asking the administration to provide a plan to eliminate, I guess, the deficit. I guess it's a $700,000 deficit. And I think this is a plan that would keep our employees, but utilize some of the strategies that outside vendors, much like, restaurant vendors like Outback or the 99 employ in terms of saving costs. And also discussing with other operations, other school systems who actually run their food service programs in the black, while still keeping their folks working. This plan would evolve throughout the year. The plan would also have to be really looking forward to the next budget year, which incidentally will be just as challenging as this budget year will be. I mean, many folks think this year is the only year. Unfortunately, we should be cognizant and preparing ourselves that next year will be probably the same. So this is one area where we need the administration to bring a plan together to hopefully eliminate this from being a deficit and really rethinking how the school system does things, become a revenue-generated operation in areas where it's appropriate to do so, where those opportunities are advantageous for the school department. So a motion was made by Jackie Doherty and seconded by John Lady. It's a little long, so I apologize. To recommend to the full school committee that in preparation for the 09-10 Lowell School Department budget, request the superintendent provide the Lowell School Committee with a plan to keep the food service program in-house while achieving a financially self-sustaining program and eliminate the current deficit within the 09-10 budget. The plan would include a reorganization of the food service management team, procurement and distribution of food products within the school system, the staffing models within the schools to deliver and prepare the food products, eliminating inefficiencies and waste. Additionally, create future revenue development in order to ensure a self-funding food service program going forward. And that was approved by the Finance Subcommittee with a 3-0 vote. I make that as a form of a motion for the full school committee for consideration.
Ms. Fattacani?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the matter which brought 120 cafeteria ladies to our meeting last week. I cannot vote on this matter yet because I think we as a committee need to fully understand what the ramifications are of the motion. Does it in fact mean we're going to have frozen meals? Does it in fact mean we're going to have a food service company? I don't know what all of it means. So I cannot vote in agreement to the motion until I understand what the ramifications are. So respectfully, through you, Your Honor, to my colleague, I do understand that we are having a huge budget crisis. But I cannot vote in this motion yet because I'm not exactly sure, Your Honor, what the ramifications are to it. And I sat here 2 weeks ago and I said, I'm uncomfortable voting to move forward with the RFP number 1. And I'm uncomfortable tonight voting to move forward when I'm not exactly sure what it all means. So I think before I can vote on anything, I would need to see some recommendations in our total budget process, because that's how I want to make my decision. I want to look at the budget in its entirety and make the decision that way, not make the decision piecemeal, Your Honor, because I'll admit I don't understand what the outcome will be. And as a result of my not understanding what the outcome will be, I'm again not comfortable tonight voting in agreement to the motion. Thank you.
Mr. Larry?
And I respect my colleague's point. I think the motion itself is requesting a plan from the administration. So I guess without prejudging what that actual plan would look like, it asks for specifics in terms of how do you take a department that is not centralized for educating students, i.e. teachers, paraprofessionals, principals, what have you, and how can you take that deficit and turn it into really a profit-making, or I guess the correct terminology would be revenue-generated, positive revenue-generated department. A lot of other school systems do have this opportunity and do that. As to how it would actually look like, I would agree with my colleague, I don't know either. But I think that's why we want to have a plan and opportunity so my colleague could look at it at a later date, take whatever the plan that comes from the administration, take it up and say, yes, I agree with the entire plan, or make changes as the committee is allowed to do so under the Ed Reform Act. But the bottom line is we're running a deficit, and we need to do something to change that deficit. We can take small bites at that apple, which I think can be done very easily, eliminating waste. But we also got to look at next year that this issue that we'll be debating in the next couple of weeks is not going to go away. It's going to come again next year. So maybe we take small bites at the apple at this thing today, and next year we make bigger changes. I don't want to prejudice what the administration will or will not bring forward. I'm not in the food service business either, but it's an interesting business, and someday I might want to get into it because it sounds like there's a way to make a lot of money if you do it in the right fashion. And places where we eat every day, like the Outback, Chili's, 99, do certain things with their own employees and make a lot of money. Again, this isn't a teaching or paraprofessional operation. This is a service we provide to students because they need food. And it's a way we could probably run in the black like many other systems around us. We can definitely do better. Let me just end with this. This isn't saying, any member who's voting tonight, yes or no, isn't voting on a change today. What they're voting on is to get recommendations from the administration to bring forward, which I would anticipate would go before another subcommittee, be the facilities, finance, or whatever, to relook at it again. And this is something that's going to evolve over the next few months. It's not something that's going to be done in one big fell swoop. Thank you.
Mr. Leary, could I suggest something? If your motion has merit, but I also agree with Regina that maybe we should wait until the budget has been settled. The budget is before us, so we'll know exactly what we're looking at. And the motion would certainly have immense merit then.
Well, with all due respect, I'd like to have an up or down vote. I mean, it's not asking for changes tonight. It's asking for a plan so we can look at it. And going down the road, you could make additional changes, or not. Or the recommendations could be, you know what? We're just going to move some inefficiencies out of the way, and that's the best we can do. I'm not prejudging the plan. What I'm saying is, I'm saying it in a nice way, it's irresponsible not to take a look at something we're running a deficit. I think I want an up or down vote with asking for a plan. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Ron. If I could just add one piece to this. If you consider that we have a $775,000 deficit, money coming out of the budget for the food service plan, I think it is appropriate to be looking at it as part of the whole budget process. We're looking at now more than $8 million in cuts. So to not even consider a plan until after the budget doesn't make sense to me. We have $750,000 that we could perhaps see some savings immediately. And if you notice, I think that the subcommittee heard very strongly the sense from the community that we want to try to keep food service in-house. And the wording of the motion is a plan to keep the food service department in-house while achieving a financially self-sustaining program. The commitment is to keep food service in-house, but how can we do that so we're not losing so much money out of the budget for what is frankly not our core mission? You know, food service is not our mission. Our mission is education. But given the financial constraints that we're under now, I think that it's worth, as my colleague says, just getting a plan from the school department. How do we keep it in-house and see some savings? Maybe just incremental to begin with. But nothing is going to be decided except to get a plan. Thank you.
Mr. Conway?
Mr. Mayor, just very briefly here, as far as the motion is concerned, when we take a look at keeping the program in-house, and I certainly agree with that, and I think we certainly have debated that numerous times in the last couple of weeks. The only question I have here is where it says here to eliminate the deficit within the 2009-2010 budget. This obviously is going to be very difficult in a plan to eliminate that, you know, and here it is a motion, and I think that what we're saying in this motion, unless I misunderstand it, is that we're basically telling the superintendent that she has to eliminate the current deficit within the 2009-2010 budget, which I think would be a bit of a Herculean task at this point. That's the only that's the only thing I'm a little concerned with on that. All right.
Just, I think that's I'm sorry. Just real quick, I guess the thing is, the operative word's plan, and it's a goal, a stretch goal. When you're in business, you want to, you know, we're going to, as we were talking earlier, we're looking at $9.3 million deficit. So we got to do things that are going to be a little bit more proactive. If the administration articulates to us that, you know what, we're not going to be able to do this and do it in the right way in the first year, we think we can take a small bite at the apple and make some changes, like eliminating inefficiencies. It's a nice buzzword, but the bottom line is we know we're doing things wrong right now that middle management needs to do better. So we know that will at least have that would call it, in a business sense, low-hanging fruit, eliminate that immediately. we know we need a plan going forward because you're going to be sitting with this issue next year. I like to see the 700,000 wiped out immediately because we got to talk about closing schools. So it's kind of something that's, to my mind, and I think in most committee members, a top priority to eliminate. If the administration articulates it can't be done in 1 year and done 1 year in an appropriate fashion, let them bring us to that plan. What I do envision by approving this plan is it goes to some type of subcommittee at some point for further review. And some things can be done real quick on the middle management's issues on their own without committee involvement. Eliminating waste would be the first one, where there would be a significant savings. Thank you.
Connie Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think one of the key things that's been brought up is this concept of, excuse me, trying to fold this conversation into our greater budget conversations. And I guess I'd like to ask the direct question to the superintendent. Is it feasible for us to be able to look at a number to cut, irrespective of how committee members feel, what committee members feel that number should be? But would we be able to, in our next round, I know we're getting our first wave of budget documents tonight, we'll be coming together again at that first budget hearing. At that time, or really more importantly, in the interim, would there be an opportunity for us to get some proposals that would at least put us on the road and give us a ballpark figure that we'd be looking to eliminate? I will say, as we look at this, recognizing that there's been an over $700,000 deficit in this function area within our schools, that has to be eliminated. This is, without question, a Herculean task, but it is, again, one among many. We are going to be making devastating decisions in every area. This has to be one. So perfect world, would the superintendent be able to provide us with something that at the very least got us to a balanced budget for FY 09-10 in time for us to be able to consider it along with all of the other budget decisions we're going to be making in the next week and a half?
Regina?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to preface my remarks first by apologizing to my colleague to my right. But we have a core mission, and part of that mission is the health and safety of our students. And part of that health and safety is to provide our children with the most nutritional meal that we can provide them. So when we talk about our core mission, one of the things that we talk about, Your Honor, is that we have children who come to school every day, and a large percentage of them are on free and reduced lunch. And part of our core mission for those young people is to fill their stomach with good food so that they are prepared to learn, and to give them a meal during the day that might be the only full meal that they have, Your Honor. So when we talk about core mission, that is part of our core mission. And so that's why this subject is so intense. I mean, look at the kids here tonight. That is part of our core mission, their health, their safety, and yes, most importantly, Your Honor, their education. And I'm going to respectfully disagree with my colleagues and say my concern is I don't know exactly what I'm getting into when I take this vote. So when I look at my core mission has to be a discussion at our budget hearings about this matter. Not tonight, not without something in front of me. Of course, the superintendent is going to prepare material for our budget. This doesn't have to be one of those separate things. She's of course going to do that. So my concern about when we talk about what's important, feeding our kids is important. And that's why we're having a heated discussion about this tonight. Thank you.
Madam Superintendent, did you want to respond to?
Yes, thank you. School Committee Member Martin, I appreciate the question, and I will have to take that under advisement to the extent that we are able to find savings, what they look like. Again, I will take my direction, obviously, from the committee, so whatever the committee decides tonight, we'll proceed with plans. You make a good point. We are presently looking at $9.5 million worth of cuts in our budget, so there are significant issues on our plate. So to the extent at this point in time that we can do due diligence in that particular area, to the extent that we could take, quote unquote, a bite of that apple, I will have to take it under advisement, but I think it's a worthy thing to do.
Mr. Leahy, then Connie Martin.
Thank you. I guess looking at the motion, I don't have a problem with it. I understand what my colleagues are saying, but I just think that, we have a food service director, and this is his job. This is what he should be doing anyways. This is what we should be doing year in, year out, comparing, trying to make this work. From people I've talked to, we have, I think we have 80 or 83% free and reduced lunch. That's basically an ideal situation. We're getting paid for that. We should be making money. So I'd like to vote yes and just get a plan and see what's happening with this. So I think this is just something we should be doing anyways, and we need a plan, and that's all I can see. I understand their concern, my colleagues' concerns, but I think we do need a plan to figure out what's going wrong here and why we're not, we're not in it, obviously, to make a profit on these kids, but we're there to have this self-sustain itself. So I would like to see the plan and find out what we're not doing that can help us with this. Thank you.
Mr. Leary?
In an effort to compromise and move on, because we have a lot of other issues at us, why don't I amend part of my motion to say essentially have the superintendent bring some recommendations to see if it is feasible for the 09-10 budget to have some changes and what those changes could be. The bottom line is we want to do it the right way. We need to stop the deficit. It's fiscally irresponsible. And any language you want to put it in, it is fiscally irresponsible, even if we're making money, to run a deficit. You can disagree with the fact that the medical and health insurance are in there. That's still a cost for an employee. It is what it is. I think with the staff that we have, with changes and reorganization and working, we have an opportunity to stop the deficit. Not a bad thing to look at. So I would be willing to amend it so people would at least feel more comfortable and take a look at it in terms of the full budget. So maybe we can't bite off $700,000 by next week. Maybe we can bite off $700,000 by the end of this year or for the next budget season. Bottom line is, got to do something. Can't let it go on. We're going to be voting to close schools. It's $9.2 million. This needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Were you a second on the amendment? Seconded by the amendment by Jackie Doughty. Let me just briefly say a few words here. I don't like the term, we're running a deficit with the food service program. We have 110 employees who work in the food service program. They can't help it if there's a deficit. It's not their fault. But is there a deficit with the custodians? Is there a deficit in any other part of the school program? Of course there is. We offer education, we offer a service, and there is a cost to that. Now, I would like to ask one question, Mr. Leary. You want a plan to maintain and keep the hot nutritional food service program going? Or is there another plan that you want to see a different format? What is the plan?
I'd like the administration to come to the school committee and say, here's a plan that we have to eliminate a deficit. No matter how you look at it, there's a deficit. I mean, we can argue about it all day long. I like to keep everybody happy and not lay anybody off and everybody, smiling and shining happy, but there's $9.2 million we got to cut. So I can cut a bunch of teachers. We can vote to cut, $15 million in middle and management. That's nice, but this is an area where we need to look at. The plan may come in, and you may say, Mayor, I disagree with the plan, I'm voting down no, or I agree with bits and pieces of that plan. I don't know what the plan actually is going to be.
Well,
I'm not a food service expert. But I'd like to have them bring a plan forward. I'm willing to amend it so we don't have to make financial decisions in 2 weeks regarding that. And what they feel comfortable, if we can take small bites of the apple, if you will, using that metaphor again, and save some money, that would be pretty cool, giving the fact that you're, again, one more time, $9.2 million in the hole. We're not going to make everybody happy. We've got to look at things differently. Let's have some up or down votes here and make some decisions. I'm trying to amend it so you can get that information. If they come back and say, look, it's too aggressive to meet that amount of money this year, to do it in a way that's both wholesome, the correct food, I'm fine. I don't want to give anybody bad food. My kid's going to eat this food too pretty soon. So it's not a question of, let's make a bad product and just make some money off it. I'm cognizant of that. What I'm saying is, again, $9.2 million deficit, this is $700,000, let's get a plan. And again, I'm willing to amend it and look at it and take small bites of the apple as opposed to doing the whole thing at once. Thank you.
I just have one question for the superintendent. Madam Superintendent, would part of your plan be to, once again, bring the concept of frozen lunches forward? Would that be part of your plan?
At this point in time, Mayor, again, I have to take it under advisement, but that definitely, we do serve frozen food at the present time through Lowell Public Schools, and I can't see that that practice would stop.
What would stop?
The present practices of having food that is frozen and reheating it.
So that wouldn't be part of your plan then?
That presently is what we do in the system, Mayor. So to the extent that we could change what is presently being done throughout our schools, again, I do need to take this under advisement and come back with a plan, if that's what the committee wishes.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Ron. I just want to add one more thing. I think that we're all sitting here and we care very much about providing good lunches for our kids. Nobody takes that lightly. Certainly, I don't. Food is central to my life in general. I think that when we look at how we deliver that service, if we can do it more efficiently, who has a problem with that?
I don't, as long as
So
it's hot
that's
nutritional
all,
food.
Okay, we're not making any decisions now except to ask for some recommendations, to ask for a plan. How can we provide the best possible lunch that our students will want to eat? Because I think that's part of the problem, is we don't have enough kids buying the school lunches. So how do we do that and possibly save some substantial money that could go into positions, whatever, right? So that's all that I see in front of us here. Give us a plan, let's look at it, see what our options are. Can we do it more efficiently? Not sacrificing quality of food, healthy choices, the whole bit. I don't want to do that any more than anyone else does.
That's fine, as long as the frozen food lunches aren't part of
We
this
are
plan.
currently serving some frozen foods.
I know.
So I don't
know.
know that you can definitely say there will be no frozen foods, but I think if we could just go forward by looking at a.
Mr. Conway, then we're going to
Just-
take a roll call vote.
Just very quickly, it's my understanding that in other departments, healthcare is not in that grouping. It's something separate. And with this particular program here, the food service, the healthcare is in that budget. So it's an automatic heavy expense right from the very beginning. And I have no idea how they could possibly overcome that. Now, I mean, again, I'm not an accountant here, but, you know, I mean, we're not, if we had that in with the teachers, they had it in with the administrators and so forth, all of a sudden, you would find that there would be a tremendous deficit. So I don't know how you overcome that deficit when they're putting it in that budget.
Ms. Martin?
Could I just to clarify for my colleague, because I do think, and it's certainly something that we had heard, you know, a couple weeks ago during our meeting. The reality is that, you know, food service is a different function. To say that, you know, that it's unfair to expect that cost center to pay for all the expenses associated with that cost center really is unrealistic. To compare the way a food service program works to the way we look at our cadre of teachers. Teachers, yes, they have a separate line item for health insurance. It is all paid for by either Chapter 70 funds or local funds given to us by the city. So it's not a matter of, you know, money in, money out. The money that comes in to support the cost center of teaching, as an example, includes paying for those teachers their salaries, the taxes on their wages, the benefits, health and otherwise. You know, that entire cost center is carried by the funding that comes in for it. And with the food services division, it should be the same thing. The monies that come in to support that cost center of providing food to students, free and reduced lunch fees that we access through the federal government, the individual students who are paying to participate in the lunch program, those are the funds that should cover all the expenses focused on that cost center, that activity. So it's not a matter of arbitrarily deciding who pays whose health insurance. It's the activity that needs to sustain itself. And that's why, I mean, I realize it was a shift several years ago, but it was unrealistic to expect one program to, you know, not have to pay for itself based on the income that it generates. Teachers generate income through Chapter 70 and local funds. Food service generates income through private pay students and staff and federal funds that come in through the reduced lunch program. So in my mind, it is very realistic to expect all those expenses to be funded by those sources that are directed to fund that activity.
Any other discussion? I just one more, Madam Superintendent, you're going to take this under advisement, and you're going to come back with a plan, and once again, could part of that plan be frozen lunches? Yes or no?
It presently exists in our system, Mayor, and so the difficulty with yes or no is that to say no wouldn't be realistic, given what we presently do and have for many years, so it will.
Just to make a distinction, because I think, and I'm just, I'm guessing, but I believe that what you're most concerned about is the preferred meals program.
Yes.
That the
Yes.
frozen dinner phrase that
That's
was
out of
taught.
the picture.
That came, that's what you're asking, as
Yes.
opposed to actual frozen foods. You're
Trust me,
concerned about that program coming
We will not be
in,
bringing that forward.
which is a distinction.
I'm all in favor of taking a long, hard look to making the food service program more efficient. But I don't want to see it be efficient by giving children frozen lunches that is laden with fat and salt.
I think we all concur with that, Mayor, absolutely.
Okay. Roll call.
Okay, may I read it to make sure I'm getting it right? This is an amendment, have the superintendent bring in a recommendation for the food service department to see if it's feasible for the 2009-2010 budget. That's all you want in that?
Jim?
That's-
Motion is amended.
Yes,
Yeah, that's all you
Motion
want?
is amended.
I mean, after that long one, I just wanted to make sure, okay?
that was,
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante. 7 yeas, approved. Motion as amended, approved.
You know, out of courtesy for everyone that's here, I would like to probably, the agenda items, probably move it forward. I believe we have 6 speakers from the Rogers School, and we need a suspension of the rules for all
We
of
just,
them.
just to do a motion to put report of progress for the finance, and I'll wrap
Oh,
it
I'm
up.
sorry.
Just want to thank you very much. We had a good meeting, obviously. Had another one here. Make a motion as report of progress to the finance subcommittee meeting.
All in favor accepting the report as a report of progress? Seconded by Connie Martin, okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye, any opposed? Accepted, yes. I know, that's why I'm bringing it forward. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules by Connie Martin, seconded by Mr. Leahy, for the sole purpose of allowing speakers to come to the podium and speak pertaining to the Rogers School. All in favor of the suspension of the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The suspensions are in order. When you come to the podium, please just give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes or less to address the school committee. And I want to applaud everyone in the balcony for being perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
My name's Ann Brady. I work at the Rogers Middle School. Just want to make sure, for those of you who can't see everyone up there, we have 133 of our 7th and 8th grade students here today. We did not extend that invitation to our 5th and 6th graders because their exuberance might not have been contained. Also want to let you know that the entire Rogers School staff is here present behind you, and I'll turn the mic over to Sergio Mazzo.
Hello, my name is Sergio Mazzo. I currently attend the Rogers Middle School as an 8th grader. Being one of the many leaders in the graduating class of 2009, I know it's my duty to speak for those who couldn't speak today. This is my first year attending the Rogers School. Personally, I feel great when I'm there. Everyone shows hospitality and respect for each other. I feel completely equal to everyone. I feel very deeply for the Rogers School. Imagine how the people who've been attending the school since 5th grade feel about the Rogers possibly being shut down next September. If anyone's here ever lost a family member or a close friend, it really hurts, and if you have, you know that the pain really doesn't go away. It follows you. At the Rogers, we have a special bond. It keeps us together. We stick together side by side no matter what problem. That's why we keep Sorry. That's why we're proud to say that we do have Rogers pride. If the Rogers meant nothing to us, we really wouldn't be here fighting to keep our school. So please find it in your hearts to reconsider. Thank you.
Your Honor, Mr. Mayor, members of the school committee, Superintendent Scott. Hi, my name is Thalia Santiago, and I'm an 8th grader at the Ian Rogers Middle School. I've been attending this school since February of '07, and I have loved every moment of it ever since. You're probably asking, why is an 8th grader graduating? Care. I care because this school isn't just a building with floors and people. It's a home with a family. Why do you want to tear down our community of learners? Why do you want to tear apart my home? I'm here 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, and I've never missed a day of my 8th grade year. Want to know why? Because I love this school and everybody in it. I have learned so much from students and teachers. Teachers helped me grow and become more mature. Students have helped me accept and respect other people. My grandfather and my godmother have all attended this school, as well as my sister and my cousins. This school gave me so much hope for a better future. I was going down a bad path, and this community of people helped me turn myself around. I've gone through a lot of family, school, and self-issues, and these teachers helped me through it. I have so much respect for this whole school because they helped me through so much. Our school motto is try harder, never give up. That's what the Ian Rogers Middle School is going to do. We are never going to give up on this wonderful school. Closing it down is going to take a part of every single person who attended here, is here, taught here, even runs here. Our school is so diverse, yet we are so equal. Teachers care so much and give us so many chances to excel. Our school is welcoming and accepting to everyone. Instead of closing this amazing school down, take away some funded programs or non-educational field trips. We will sacrifice anything to keep this school here. This school means so much to me, and if you close it down, you're breaking apart our community and my family. Thank you. Dear school committee members, good evening. My name is Rena Sudamong, and I am an 8th grader from the Rogers School. We are here tonight to show you that we are more than just a building you want to close. We are a family of students, teachers, administrators, and parents, custodians, and lunch ladies. As 8th graders, we have invested 4 years of our lives here being educated, making friends, watching our role models. We came to the Rogers not because we had to, but because we chose to. As students, we have learned the tools necessary to be successful people in the high school and in our community. We are proud of what we have accomplished here at the Rogers, and that was done because we try harder, we never give up. We are not a wealthy school, and we have many families who depend on the abilities of our teachers and administration. Please do not force these families to begin a new process all over again. We all have made many memories here, and we do not want to leave 8th grade knowing that we are the last class to attend all 4 years at the Rogers. Our teachers are our superheroes, always believing in us and helping us achieve things we never thought possible. Our teachers love us, even though we might be pains and at times cause chaos. Our principal, Mr. McGillicuddy, has always been by our side through thick and thin. He is our #1 fan who supports us even when we make silly mistakes. He knows what's best for us even when we don't. We want to take this moment to thank him for everything he has done for us, because if you decide to pass this proposal, we will not have the opportunity next year or the following years to come back and tell him how well we are doing. Please, from the bottom of our hearts, do not close the Rogers School and separate our second family. On behalf of the 8th grade graduating class, thank you for considering our plea.
Hi, my name is Calvin Tavares. I'm in the 7th grade at the Rogers School. I'm a 13-year-old American Latino. When I heard about the Rogers School closing, I was actually in shock. I have been at the Rogers for almost 3 years, and I've built close bonds between friends that are now like family. I wanted to know how I could help my school. So I thought about creating a petition. I thought if the school committee had a petition, it would have an impact on the decision to close the school. I looked at a couple of samples of petitions and I came up with the following. We, the undersigned, wish to demonstrate our support of the Ian Rogers Middle School. We understand that the Rogers is one of the schools up for consideration of closure by the Lowell School Committee. We, the undersigned, believe that the Ian Rogers School should not be considered for closure for the reasons mentioned below. We believe that the Ian Rogers School is more than an academic institution, but is also a community of exceptional students, staff, and volunteers. This community produces contributing and responsible people who continue to strive for excellence, whether it's in academics, work, or hobbies. Students and faculty at the Rogers share a relationship with one another, not just as colleagues, but also as friends and families. Here at the Rogers, we treat one another with dignity and respect and have never refused or have failed to do so. Specifically, we believe that the community of the Rogers has created memorable experiences and memories, dedicated our time to help others within our community, produce students who demonstrate success and excellence, encourage confidence and creativity. We, the undersigned, believe that the school must remain open in order to continue to produce more inspired individuals and carry on the tradition of encouraging excellence. That is why our school motto is try hard, try harder, never give up. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Amy Hang, and I'm here to say my letter for you guys. Dear Lowell School Committee members, trying to find where to begin explaining how much the Rogers School means to me is a difficult challenge. The Rogers School has provided me with so much happiness, knowledge, and opportunity. I have made many friends, and the teachers all here are very supportive, helpful, and when you really need them. The reason why I choose to come to school is because the Rogers has motivated me to go to the school every day and give it my all. It's basically a second home to me. Like a motto, I'll try hard, try harder, and I won't give up. And I want to give that opportunity to upcoming students so they will have that amazing experience I had. Anyone who can even consider down shutting our school should first come to our school and see for themselves what a wonderful school committee exists at the Rogers School. Love, Amy Haight.
As all of you know, word seems to travel fast in Lowell. This is actually Philippe Candido, who was an alumni from the Rogers School, who is currently at Holy Cross, I believe, on a full scholarship. And he is going to be a junior, Philippe Candido.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Felipe. Before I tell you what I think about this, or even before I ask you for anything, I'm just going to give you a brief, I'm just going to tell you briefly my experience at the Rogers. 4 years. For 4 years. I graduated in 2003, I believe 6 years ago. And as you can tell from the accent, I'm Brazilian. I came here when I was 10 years old. I was turning 11. And I didn't speak a word of English, okay? And on my second day in the United States, my parents told me, you're going to school. And I told them, wait, why, how? You know, I don't speak the language. And they told me, no, don't worry. My dad was in Lowell for 2 years. And he told me there's this middle school that takes in everybody, and they'll take care of you. You'll be all right, you know? And I said, okay then. You know, I was still nervous. I didn't believe him at first. But I went there. My second day in the United States, they already brought us to school, okay? I thought it was going to be a little vacation, but no, second day. They brought me to school, and, you know, I'm sitting there, everyone's speaking this foreign language, you know, English, and I didn't understand what they were saying. And my dad went there, spoke the little English that he had, and in 10 minutes, I was put in a classroom, okay? And my classroom was filled with recent immigrants from Brazil, and we had two teachers, Miss Oliveira and Miss Freitas, and Miss Freitas took in the new kids, and they stood by my side, okay? And they were patient with me. They taught me English. They taught me all the subjects, you know, became my friend. And not just them, but as I was moving up, you know, everybody. 6th grade, I was still, you know, with the Portuguese teachers, Miss Flynn, Miss Silva. And then from there, I wasn't put into a mainstream class until my second half of my 7th grade year, okay? And I'll tell you, I would go to school every day. I didn't miss more than 4 days, I believe, each year. They taught me so much. I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for, you know, the staff at Rogers School, and this include the custodians, lunch ladies. You know, I know you guys look at the MCAS a lot. You know, they taught me, you know, everything they taught me. I received an advanced score in math, and by 2 points, I didn't get an advanced score in English with, you know, less than 3 years here. So, thank you. It just shows how competent the Rogers School staff, you know, how wonderful these teachers are. I found out that, you know, you guys were thinking about shutting down the Rogers last night at 10 o'clock when I got home. And this morning, you can ask Mr. McGillacari. I was at the Rogers School at 9 o'clock in the morning to talk to him about this. And I asked, what's going on? And he's like, Felipe, I just found out. He told me what's happening. You know, I'm going to tell you what I think now. I think it's criminal to shut down a school, a middle school like the Rogers School. Okay, it's a top-notch middle school. And I brag about my middle school. You know, even in my high school, oh, where are you from? I'm from the Rogers, the best middle school in Lowell. Okay, and for you, ladies and gentlemen here that are the ones in power to make the decision, please consider keeping the Rogers School open. And I ask you this from the bottom of my heart. You know, I pretend to live in Lowell, and I hope someday, you know, if I'm still here, I'm going to send my kids to the Rogers School. I don't need to send them to private school or anything because, you know, I am friends with these people here. Every single one, I was friends with the lunch ladies, custodians, great people. You know, everyone's a diverse school. We all get along. And just please reconsider. You know, I'm not saying you should go shut down another school. By no means, I'm not saying that. But, you know, maybe, you know, I challenge you to look at something, you know, another way of, you know, sharing, you know, the burden, all the schools share the burden or something like that. I don't know. But just keep that in mind, okay? Thank you. Thanks for the time. Thank you.
This is actually a statement I prepared yesterday in preparation for the visit from the superintendent and various union people and people from student services. It's largely the same as it started, with a few additions, because I can't help but having a reaction after the faculty meeting yesterday. In the 15 years that I've been in this building, I've witnessed growing and more substantive initiatives designed to improve collaboration in service of more effective teaching and raising standards. The professionals involved in this are not just warm bodies. These efforts represent hard work over time to develop relationships because we have learned that progress can only advance so far outside the context of a relationship. The district has committed itself to that charge, and yet, given the fiscal and political tone of these times, those values are being placed on the back burner. What are we modeling for our students in this process? Have we regressed back to the do what I say, not what I do position? And when the Rogers team has been split up and the students without choice are torn from their respective peer groups and teachers are placed throughout the district, left with little choice but to bump colleagues, how does the district plan to address what will essentially create hostile working environments throughout the city? Not to mention interrupting the flow of what all those other schools have worked tirelessly to create in their own buildings. Aside from the attractiveness of this building to house administration as outlined in the superintendent's email, this school is a second home to our students. I find it most concerning that when times get hard, time and time again, the highest risk and most needy children, those with the weakest voices and the unempowered, are the first to be targeted. If we are crunching numbers equitably, keep in mind around the issue of poverty that the numbers reflecting free and reduced lunches vary critically between the middle schools. The Rogers at 93% free and reduced. The Wang and the Daily, however, are at 42%, and the Sullivan at 61%. So when remarks were made to the Rogers faculty yesterday about the concern about schools not being looked at in the proposals because of the numbers, the implied message is alarming. Do we hope that they will not have the resources, advocacy, or the understanding to make a difference? Do we hope that they don't show up to cast their vote? We as advocates for these students and this school cannot risk modeling an ounce of complacency around this very inequitable proposal. Even the other schools and proposals mentioned represent like demographics, which only compounds my concern. It sends the wrong message to this community and, most importantly, to our students. Please take the time to know what we are doing here, what has evolved here, and what our commitment is by knowing the names and faces of our students and the 58 people whom the proposal to close the Rogers impacts. Given that this has repeatedly been referred to as a proposal, the fact that emails regarding, quote, the next job, as well as an abundance of union representation present at yesterday's meeting, gives rise to critical questions around whether this is truly a collaborative problem-solving process or not. We have started something here, not just as individuals, but as a group. That takes years of collaboration. We know our children, their families, and their needs. For those of you who are crunching numbers without identities, I challenge you to attach a price to what will be lost by this move, or what it will cost to play catch-up in the schools all over this city. We are asking that you look outside the subcommittee for other feasible alternatives. It would seem, with the newest initiative to increase collaboration recently discussed at an AFT meeting, what better chance to model this by giving a few schools slated for closure an opportunity to merge as a community. It's time to look to the teaching community for a lesson about modeling. Here's your opportunity. Thank you.
Good evening, and you probably all know who I am. I'm Tim McGillicuddy, principal of the Rogers School. And I should be standing applauding them. They are great. You have heard the eloquence of our student representatives, most of them 8th graders, our former graduate Felipe. Their passion about our school is our pride. The present and current and former students here tonight also speak eloquently about how much our school has meant to them. The Rogers has nurtured hopes and their dreams. They will attest to that. The proposed closing has been a shock to all of us. We are here to respectfully request a rethinking of what we think is a misguided decision. I am honored to be the principal of the Rogers School. It is much more than a job to me. I look on my work as a calling and as a privilege. I don't think that I am any different in this feeling than the other principals in this district. The Rogers School is a place where children come every day to be inspired by their teachers. They learn valuable skills that last a lifetime. Every child in our school has made a deep connection with a caring teacher. Every child has accomplished so very much this year, and if he or she has been attending the Rogers School for several years, those connections and accomplishments are deeper and even more important. But this is not what makes the Rogers School special. All of our district schools do that for their students. What makes the Rogers a special place is that it serves the underserved. It gives voice to the sons and daughters of immigrants. You heard all of them tonight. It empowers these sons and daughters. It makes real their dreams and aspirations. As a former immigrant, I understand the power of voice and the power of access that our school symbolizes for our current students, for their parents, and for our former students. The Rogers School has a long and rich history. We have served as a place of learning, a safe haven, a beacon of hope, a pathway to success for so many since we opened in 1962. Former students who are now parents are inspired to send their children to our school. Former students are now teachers at our school. High school and college students return to us to share their successes. Several have returned to volunteer in some capacity. We can count many distinguished members of the community, the city of Lowell, as graduates of our school. That's what makes the Rogers special. Our students and teachers have created a wonderful, caring community. Our children can't wait to come to school every day, and you heard their words tonight. They are at school before we start. Many stay long before school, after school is over. They come because they know they belong. They know that they're cared for. Every single one of them believe that this is their second family. Our yearly attendance rate is 96%. Our MCAS scores show increases every year. Our students are committed to their success. Our teachers pour their hearts and souls into their teaching. They do this because they believe teaching is more than a job. It is a commitment to serve the children and the families who have limited access to the experiences that my children took for granted and that many other children in this city and in the surrounding communities take for granted. Speaking for the children, I think they understand finances. They understand working with a budget. What they don't understand is how this proposed action is fair to them, fair to their families, fair to their teachers. We are requesting fairness. We are requesting that all of us invest in a solution that is fair to all of us. I've brought with me letters and petitions from the children. I have read several of them. They are heartfelt. I urge you to read them. Yesterday, I spoke to all of the students in assembly. I shared the news of the proposal to close the Rogers School with them. I have also shared with them that in America, if you disagree with something, that you have the right to speak up and have a contrary opinion heard, and I think they heard that tonight. I also told them that it is the responsibility of elected officials to listen to the voice of the people and, in fairness, consider some other ways. The children, their teachers, their families are here tonight. Their words and actions are heartfelt. Please grant them a chance to be heard. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank Mr. McGillicuddy and all the speakers who came to the podium this evening, and especially the students that are in the balcony. Once again, you behaved wonderfully. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you were excellent, and I want to thank you for being here. And certainly the school committee will take this under advisement, but please don't leave. I neglected to recognize those teachers who probably reached out and helped you somewhere along the line, who are retiring. And if you please bear with me, I'm going to read their names, the names of the teachers that received the citation this evening. And when I'm finished, please give them a round of applause. I appreciate it. 24 years of service, pre-kindergarten teacher at the Greenhouse School, Susan Anderson. Mindy Booth, just hold your applause, please. Mindy Booth, 35 years of service, elementary teacher at the McAuliffe School. Ruth Buckley, 34 years of service, elementary teacher at the Pawtuckaville School. Linda Colburn, 33 years, assistant principal at the Rogers School. Judith Caniff, 31 years of service, parent liaison at the Family Literacy Center. Elizabeth Dulpin, 33 years of service at the Literacy Specialist Riley School. Deborah Flanagan, 26 years of service as a science teacher at the Robinson School. Hildy Gilman, 24 years of service as elementary teacher at the Sullivan School. Martha Aripino, 23 years, a mathematics teacher at Lowell High School. And Emily Manning, 16 years of service, library aide at the Rogers School. Joanne Willett, 35 years of service, a special education teacher at the Lincoln School. Carolyn Palmer, 33 years of service, a special education teacher at the McAuliffe School. Susan Smith, 36 years of service, district support specialist, student support. Carol Sonberger, 13 years, special education teacher at the Riley School. Margaret Towers, 23 years of service, literacy specialist at the Bailey School. Justina Varela, 25 years, elementary teacher at the Pawtuckaville School. Mary Lou Whalen, 34 years of service, elementary teacher at the Riley School. And Suzanne Zagonis, 10 years, elementary teacher at the Pawtuckaville School. Put your hands together for them. Once again, I want to thank, you can stay for the meeting, and the superintendent is going to present the budget to us. We'll accept the budget. I encourage you to stay for the entire meeting and see what the democracy is all about, the school committee is all about, and I encourage you to stay. And once again, I want to thank you for being perfect, ladies and gentlemen, through this whole whole course. Thank you very much.
Your Honor, you
Yes.
might want to entertain a couple-minute recess in case people would like to walk back. They can get up and leave, and we won't be disturbed. So
That's a
just
request.
2-minute recess.
A 2-minute recess by Ms. Fattacani, seconded by Ms. Connie Martin. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thanks.
Most of them have school tomorrow, so up there, so
Oh, you're welcome. I'll be right back.
different person votes first, and if so that it's not always the same person going first, same person voting that. So I was voting that. It's like came to me was yes, I can go. So I said, no. So anyway, I said, whatever. What are we talking about? So anyway, I said, let's release the meat. Absolutely. Very complicated. It was extraordinarily complicated, but the city was going to be a financial nightmare, and there was no government. So I could what it was going to do is it was going to release the building to the auction. The first mortgage which was in perpetual was still So what we're talking about is really theoretically $2 million, but if it went to auction, which it was gonna, they pay off mortgagees and they work. So I sort of looked at it, basically predicted as like on this step, current environment at that time. If it goes out to auction through bankruptcy, they're not gonna crack. They're not gonna crack 4 or 5 million, so we're not gonna get our money anyway. So why don't we just cut the red tape and move this whole process forward a year or two?
Yeah, the teachers appreciate that, they do.
Well, I would have done it right off the bat.
So we wouldn't have, so we wouldn't have gotten with
Could we find our places, please, and we'll take a roll call? This is the
Yeah, I'll put it right here.
this is the transportation stuff.
This is for all that you're supposed to read. Just keep it open.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
They're not here yet.
We got one person. Want me to go get them?
No, they're coming.
utilities and stuff like that. So the entire
They're eating.
renovated, ready to go is 4.5.
Let's go.
They sold for $100 million a few years ago.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes, here.
At the meeting. Miss Martin. Present. Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Fedicante.
Here.
7 present.
I want to thank everyone for their patience, and I think all those speakers had a lot to say, and I want to also thank the students who are in the balcony for acting just great. So, moving on with the agenda, we have on the subcommittee report, Transportation Subcommittee report, approval of the minutes, May 18th, Regina M. Fatacanti, chairperson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Present at the meeting were subcommittee members Connie Martin and Jackie Doherty. Also, school committee members present there were John Leahy, Dave Conway. The school department personnel, Assistant Superintendent of Finance Jay Lang, John Dakota, Family Resource Center Coordinator. Your Honor, my hat goes off again and again and again to John Dakota and also to Jay Lang, because they have done absolute yeoman's work, Your Honor. So through you to Mr. Lang, excellent work here that you have done with Mr. Dakota. They have gone into negotiation with SP&R Transportation and were able to reduce our transportation costs over the next 3 years at a savings of $300,000 a year, Your Honor, for each year, which totals a $900,000 savings in 3 years.
That's $1 million home run. So.
That's just absolutely incredible. So we had a motion, Your Honor, a motion by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty, to accept the report as a report of progress and recommend to the full school committee that a contract be entered into with SP&R Transportation for a 3-year period beginning July 1st, 2009 and concluding June 30th, 2012. That was approved 3-0, Your Honor, and I would move that forward, that we vote on that this evening.
Motion brought forward by Ms. Fatacanti to approve the contract, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Any discussion, any debate on the issue? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Larry,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes.
Mr. Conway. Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes,
7 yeas, approved.
that's it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Sweet and simple.
Thank you. The next subcommittee report is the Facilities Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of May 18th. I believe John Leahy is the chairperson.
Thank you, Your Honor. School committee met Monday, May 18th for a facilities subcommittee meeting. Present with myself and Jackie Doherty. Other school committee members there were the mayor, Mr. Conway, Ms. Martin, Ms. Fattacani, superintendent, assistant superintendent Jay Lang, and John Dakota. Basically, what we did was we got a sheet of options to make some unpleasant cuts and to look at school consolidations. So we had a two-page, well, a few pages, but 2 pages of plans to look at, to consider. So Plan A was the first plan. That was to take a look at what it would mean to close the Moody Elementary School and reconfigure the Bartlett Community School, Community Partnership School into a pre-K through grade 4 elementary school. I'll just kind of quickly go through the plans. This plan basically affected about 19 positions. It would have a cost savings of $1 million, $132,000. It would relocate the Moody Elementary School students K through 4 to the Bartlett, and some reconfiguration at the Bartlett School, obviously. And basically, you know, as I said, the savings were about $1 million. Plan B, which seems to be the most controversial plan, was to close the Rogers Middle School. That program affected, that plan affected approximately 58 positions and had a cost savings of $3.2 million. It had some good considerations with it because what we could do with that facility, we were looking at, we could house some central office space. It's handicap accessible. The building itself is in a great location. It's on a bus line. We could actually put the family literacy from Palmer Street over to that building also. It's a very controversial plan. We had many speakers here tonight to speak about it, but it does offer big savings. Plan C was to close the Moody and the Washington Elementary Schools, reconfigure the Bartlett Community Partnership School and the Pine Arts Magnet School into pre-K through grade 4 elementary schools. That affected about 39 positions, and it had a cost savings of approximately $2.3 million. There was a debate on that about whether or not we wanted to consider or take a look at losing our K through 8 program that we have at the Pine Arts and the Bartlett. So Plan D had actions that included Plan A as described above, plus to reduce 1 strand at each grade level at the Rogers and the Stocklosa School. This plan affected about 29 positions and had a cost savings of about $1.7 million. Didn't really generate much talk on this one. The Rogers and the Stocklosa Middle School are both well below current level capacity. So it was worth taking a look at to moving some strands from the schools over there, but it really didn't generate much talk at the meeting. So we had a good discussion about these plans. We took I'm trying to find my motion here. We took a motion by Jackie Doherty, seconded by myself, to accept the report as a report of progress and recommend to the full school committee the consideration of the plans to be taken during the budget deliberations. So that was approved 2-0. So that was the motion. And, you know, unpleasant as it is, we have to face reality. We know today that we're looking at $9.5 million shortage. And these are just some of the options that we're faced with. They're unpleasant. No one wants to close schools. But it's not fair either to have facilities below their capacity for students. And it's not fair to be spending the tax dollars, you know, not as efficient as we could. We need to be lean, we need to be efficient, and we need to look what's best for the students and for the citizens of Lowell that pay the taxes for the education. So I guess we need a motion, we need a second on the motion. So it's just basically a report of progress to take up the recommendation.
Accept the report as a report of progress. It's brought forward by Chairman John Lay, seconded by Connie Martin. All in favor, signify by saying aye. The report has been received, placed on file. In all due fairness to all these students who are in this balcony and the people who spoke at that podium, it would be unfair to make a decision on this particular issue tonight. And I think we should take a look at some of those letters, and it's going to be tough decisions. Whatever we make, it's going to be a tough decision. And bring this forward at the budget session and let those people know that this is going to be brought forward at the budget session. That's being fair, and that's the democracy that I like to see. Jackie?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to make a comment. I think that whenever we look at closing a school, it has a huge ripple effect on the whole district. As we saw last year, we had to close the Varnum. We saved $1 million. Many teachers were bumped. Children were distributed to other schools across the city. It impacts the whole district whenever a school is closed. And this is not a decision that any of us take lightly. And I think just in terms of for the public to, some of the factors we think about, yes, one is the cost savings. You know, it's a devastating thing to do, to close a school community down and move those children and move the staff around. But one factor we look at is how much will it save us, and especially in the fiscal climate we're in right now. Another factor which I weigh very heavily is how many students are actually going to be disrupted. If we're, you know, talking about some of these plans impacted 3 and 4 school communities, it's just like that ripple effect gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's another point that we have to think about in terms of the decisions of closing a school. It is a negative thing. It does impact. It's unfair. It impacts the whole district. But in the budget climate that we're in, these are some of the decisions we're going to have to make if we're going to meet this shortfall. And I just want to close with, as someone sitting here listening to the speakers, listening to the students and the teachers, as much as it hurt me to think that this was a move we have to consider, I also was incredibly proud to see, as you mentioned, how well-behaved the students were, how eloquent and from the heart they spoke. And it just reiterated to me once again what a tremendous school system we have. We have caring staff and caring school communities at every one of our schools across the district, doing very important work with our children. And it's a sad day that we're looking at this issue, but the reality is we've got to find $9 million. Thank you.
I know I'm preaching to the choir, but the City of Lowell's budget is $306 million. over 50% of that budget comes from local aid. $156,815,605. In good times, that's wonderful. In bad times, when the state is hurting financially, it's not good news. Last year, we received $156,815,605. The Senate budget this year will be $139,519,422. $17 million difference. And a businessman or a businesswoman who is in the business world, when they see things that are not financially secure, first thing they have to consolidate. And that's what we have to do. It's not going to be easy. And I received calls from teachers from the Rogers School. Why don't you close the Moody School and the Washington School? And the issue here is, whatever school you close, you're going to get calls. And I think we have a responsibility to make sure that teacher is in the classroom, all the children are getting an education, and that's the most important thing we have to do, and make sure that happens. And the superintendent knows that there are schools that are 1/3 empty or 2/3 full. And we have to consolidate. And it's not going to be an easy decision. But in all fairness to everyone who was here tonight, I don't think any decision should be made tonight until we get to the budget and do some soul searching between now and the budget session. So,
Your Honor?
Thank you. Yes, John.
Thank you. I just wanted to add on to what you said, that, you know, when I've got many calls too from teachers and from some students, and, you know, when they ask about the other schools like the Moody or the Washington, you know, times are tough, and if we do close a school and we can reuse the school for something else, I mean, that's a factor. So, you know, we looked at everything. If we close down a school, what can we bring over to that building to consolidate? And, you know, and some plans are better than other plans, and that's why, you're right, we have to look at this carefully and make sure we make the best decision. Thank you.
Connie Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just really want to add on quickly to what my colleague, Mr. Leahy, was saying, because I think the other important consideration for having received the same calls talking about putting the Moody and the Washington in that, offering them as perhaps better choices. One of the facts we need to remain aware of is that schools are not interchangeable. We're talking about a middle school. And the reason that the Rogers School kind of came as an option is that the middle school level is where we have the space. Our elementary schools are filled to bursting. The capacity of closing down 2 middle schools simply isn't possible unless we take over other middle school space. So, I mean, the reality is that if you're making any changes to our elementary offerings, you automatically impact multiple middle school populations. Because, again, by the very nature of the population, you know, and the generations that we're, and the numbers of students that are coming through our district, the fact is the middle school is where we have a brand-new school that just came online and where we have the capacity to absorb them. So it's not interchangeable of, well, this school has better lights, or this school has better parking, or things like that. It really comes down to the level of education that's provided in these facilities, and by level I mean age range, and you just can't trade those out, like, you know, as easily as I think some people unfortunately think it might be.
Any other discussion on this issue? If none, accept the report as a report of progress and place it on file by Jackie Doughty, seconded by Regina Fattacani. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That report has been placed on file and accepted. Reports to the superintendent. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Your Honor. I bring your attention to the budget book that has been distributed by Assistant Superintendent Jay Lang to each of you this evening. And I trust you members have a copy who are here as well. If not, we can get you for them after the meeting. In FY '09, the Lowell City Council appropriated $137,950,089 to the Lowell Public Schools as an operating budget. The FY 2010 recommended budget before you takes into consideration all known and anticipated contractual obligations, including the previously bargained June 30th, 2009 salary increases and step and lane changes. The FY 2010 recommended budget does not contain any cost of living increases for any staff member in the entire district. On July 1st of 2009, a level service budget in FY 10 would represent a $9,162,517 increase over the appropriated FY '09 budget to make it a total of $147,100,012,606. As late as this afternoon, City Manager Lynch has indicated that he will be recommending to the Lowell City Council that an additional $5 million be reduced from the FY '09 appropriation level. This brings the Lowell Public Schools FY '10 budget deficit from level service to $14,172,517. The three main factors contributing to the FY '10 level service increases are as follows. Salary increases of $3.1 million, out of district special education tuition costs of $2.5 million, employee health insurance premium increase to the amount of $3.7 million, a grand total of $9.4 million. In developing the FY '10 budget, out of district special education tuition costs had been expected to increase by approximately $500,000. Further, the fourth quarter circuit breaker payment in FY '08, representing approximately $500,000, was not expended and instead was budgeted and paid in FY '09 to offset the anticipated FY '09 special education tuition costs. Therefore, a $1 million increase in the FY '10 out-of-district tuition cost was anticipated when developing the recommended budget. However, as late as this morning, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education issued an advisory that the Senate Ways and Means budget decreased the level of circuit breaker reimbursement that we would receive from 72% to 30% in their budget recommendation. This represents an additional $1.5 million in out-of-district special education tuition costs that will not be reimbursed by the state in FY '10, requiring the local budget to assume this additional financial burden. Massachusetts host level funded FY '10 Chapter 70 state aid to the Lowell Public Schools at $119,881,735. In the Massachusetts Senate budget, based upon a continued decline in state revenue receipts, Lowell's Chapter 70 state aid was reduced to $117,484,100. The Senate has urged Governor Patrick to use federal stimulus funds to offset the reduction in Lowell's case. This represents $2.4 million. The FY '10 recommended budget is built on the assumption that either 1, Lowell's Chapter 70 state aid will be reinstated at the FY '09 level, and 2, that the governor utilizes federal stimulus funds to offset the difference. If this assumption is incorrect, an additional $2.4 million may need to be reduced from the bottom line of the budget, bringing the deficit to just over $11,860,896. 3 sources of federal stimulus funds are being allocated to school systems throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to assist with the dire financial situation in which we find ourselves. At the present time, the impact of these 3 allocations on the Lowell Public Schools is as follows. The state fiscal stabilization funds to a total of $2.6 million. School-age IDEA funds, $1.2 million. Title I funds, $890,798 for a grand total of $4.7 million. This offset in federal stimulus funds will reduce the $14 million level service budget shortfall to $9.4 million. Increased enclosed in your FY10 recommended budget is a list of budget reductions totaling $7.4 million at this time. This includes the elimination of 118 positions through all levels of the Lowell Public Schools. As the federal, state, and local budget figures continue to be in the state of flux, my staff and I will continue to develop further recommendations for budget reductions over the coming days and weeks for your consideration. My staff and I will continue to be in contact with City Manager Lynch regarding the status of the City of Lowell's budget and will apprise the Lowell School Committee of any updates as they are received. Assistant Superintendent Lang continues to work with Chief Financial Officer Moses to determine an appropriate unemployment calculation to be further reduced from the budget after all reductions through attrition are realized. Further, my staff and I will continue on a daily basis to seek updates on the status of Lowell's Chapter 70 funds, circuit breaker reimbursement rates, and federal stimulus funds. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. I will entertain a motion to accept the budget that's presented this evening by Superintendent Chris Augustus Scott.
Motion to accept the budget, Your Honor.
Motion to accept the budget by Ms. Fatacanti, seconded by Mr. Conway. Let's take a roll call on it.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty,
Yes.
Miss Fatacanti.
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
Okay. Ms. Doherty.
Yes, Your Honor, while we're on the discussion of accepting the budget, my understanding was our first budget hearing was going to be Wednesday, May 27th. And
And we informed the administration that that date is full. This activity in this council chambers and there's activity at the mayor's reception room as well.
what about if we looked at having, I think we should go forward with the meeting, if we could have it at the Lowell High School television studio?
No,
I mean,
it should be televised right here.
and the meeting that's happening here can't be moved out for that night?
No. There's a state agency that's coming in here, and there's a zoning board of appeals. We just waited too long to reserve the room. So, we have May 30th at 1 o'clock, and then we have,
At 10 o'clock.
is that?
10 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Excuse me, Ms. Doherty, I don't know if you're finished or not, but I guess, we could do it in the high school cafeteria. We did like a meeting there before regarding the superintendent search, and we had plenty of public participation in that room, and it's a lot bigger than this room. So I think we have a date set for Wednesday. We can televise it. I don't see what the problem is. We have ability to do that.
That date isn't cast in stone. You could move to another date.
I guess, what does the committee want to do then? I mean, Saturday we were scheduled, I thought we were doing it at 9 a.m., now we're doing it at 1 o'clock.
Right.
Okay, that's fine, so I can do that on Saturday at 1 o'clock, I guess. And then the next date is the following week. I mean, does everybody have a problem not meeting next Wednesday? So it's not really an issue then, so. So the first one we'll do is Saturday, the 30th of May at 1 o'clock.
Monday the 25th is Memorial Day.
Yeah.
We all know.
27th is Wednesday, the 30th is Saturday. So our first one would be Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
And then
cool with
we can-
everybody?
And then we can, June 1st is available, and Wednesday is Lowell High School graduation, Wednesday the 3rd of June. You get,
I'm getting confused.
Ms. Doherty?
Just for clarification purposes, so we begin on May 30th at 1 o'clock on a Saturday here.
Yes.
Then we follow with June 1st, which is a Monday night. We have this room available that night.
I believe we do, yes.
And then June 4th, which is a Thursday night, because we can't do it Wednesday because of the high school graduation.
Right.
Okay. I just think it's unfortunate because a lot of those dates were already publicized, and now we're changing them. It's just, in terms of public awareness, we've been saying that we were doing it on the 27th.
Well, we waited too long to schedule a room.
What if we did the 28th on Thursday? Is that available for the first date? I don't know if there's plenty of time to publish it. I don't know if the room has what you sent Thursday, it has, but.
The 28th, Thursday, the 28th?
Mr. Leahy's not available that night.
That's not
Oh, yeah.
And that's Rita's party and John's. You don't remember that?
Well, that's what I thought it was.
If we do find ourselves having, I mean, because I share the concerns about pushing this back to starting on the 30th, but what I would say in terms of making sure we have additional options, if we look at a Saturday and then that immediately following that Monday, if on the 3rd, as some of my colleagues know, we have taken advantage after the high school graduation to have just left, immediately and come right to a meeting. I don't know if that's going to be an option with this room.
That'd be 10 PM at night, wouldn't it?
Well, usually it's about like 8,
And we
8:30.
did that last year, Your Honor.
No, not for a budget hearing.
And I want to be well-rested and be able to go through
Okay.
this budget. And I don't want to rush through this. This is a very important issue.
Well, that's what the concern is.
So we know we're going to meet Saturday, May 30th at 1 PM.
Yes.
And then let's
From there, we can pick the next date.
find out how far we get through the budget.
Right.
and-
We have to, because we don't have any other dates.
To the superintendent, I don't know if there's any response that we need from the assistant superintendent for finance?
Can, just for a second, if we go, which is fine, with that Saturday the 30th as our first date, and then that Monday night is only 2 days later, what I would just ask is, as you go over the budget over the course of this next week, if you require additional information, or if you think of different things you'd like me to put proposals together on, the quicker you get me the information, it'll allow me to have that to you prior to that Saturday hearing, because between the end of that hearing on Saturday and that Monday night, there's just not a lot of time for me to do a lot of legwork or proposal development. So if over the next couple of days you see something you'd like more information on, please just let me know, and I'll provide the information to the whole committee early next week so you have it in plenty of time to review before Saturday's hearing.
Now, Jane, through the superintendent, has my office been in touch with you about the dates that we have set aside?
Yes, I believe the only date that was an issue was the 27th.
Right, and someone did make a phone call to schedule the room. Madam Superintendent?
Yes. Also, just point of clarification to follow up on Mr. Lang's comments. The $7.5 million of budget reductions that are in your books right now have not been broken out to various tiers because of the significant financial deficit that we are looking at. So the original request was for tier 1, 2, and 3. That was in the context, my understanding, of if we were going to face $4 million, it would be this much, 5, 6. So everything presented to you, please consider tier 1. Thank you.
So I'll entertain a motion that the first budget session will be held Saturday, May 30th at 1 PM. So moved by Ms.
Your Honor.
Fattacani, seconded by Ms. Martin. All in favor, signify by
Aye.
saying aye, and we will schedule that budget session for that day. And from that date, we'll move on.
We have the other date set. We do?
Thank you, Madam Superintendent, for providing the budget. And under new, yes, John?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. On the facilities subcommittee, I omitted part of the meeting, so how do we get back there?
Shame.
I know.
We've already approved it, Joe. Stop losing.
How
How do we get back into
Make
the
a
sub?
a suspension of the rules to go
Suspension
back.
of the rules?
Suspension of the rules by Ms. Fattacani, seconded by Mr. Leary, to go back to the facility subcommittee meeting, and we'll take a long, hard look at that paragraph you made.
Thank you, Your Honor. I forgot to mention the second part of the meeting, which was the Family Literacy Center lease. Lease for the Family Literacy Center at 26 Palmer Street expires June 30th. Grant from the Massachusetts Department of Early Childhood currently provides the annual lease. However, the funding for the early childhood grant continues to decline, and it's a real possibility that the grant may not support the lease. So Mr. Lang is looking for direction from the committee to either advertise for a new lease for the period beginning July 1st, 2009, request school committee consideration for the annual cost, approximately $130,000 from the local budget, or 2, not advertise for the new lease and vacate the property by June 30th. So a motion was brought in by Jackie Doherty, seconded by myself, to accept the report of progress and seek guidance from the full school committee meeting. Thank you.
So let me pose this question to Mr. Lang. If we agree to the RFP, then we're committing to $130,000. And you indicated that it wouldn't be that hard to move those employees out of that facility to another area. Is that so?
The moving physically from the facility to somewhere else is not an issue.
Okay.
It's more, we don't know, I think it's unlikely that the grant is going to be able to sustain that lease, but we don't know for sure at this point. We could advertise under the auspices that if the grant is awarded, then it could be entertained. And if the grant just didn't come in, then that would kind of kill it there. But I just need directions from the committee if they want to, move forward with this. And then actually, if the grant didn't come in, the committee's other option would be to appropriate the funds through the budget process of the local side. It's your decision. I just needed some advice and guidance.
How sure are we that the grant is going to come in?
No, the problem is I think the grant is very questionable, and I think it's potentially, the funding source really doesn't want to be paying for a lease any longer. And it's at the point where it's going to be starting to sacrifice positions to keep the lease. So I think it's more likely, if the committee really wants to keep the lease of the Literacy Center, that it's going to be something you'd have to budget in your local budget and pick it up as a cost. And I need to know if you even want to go through that exercise or not.
Mr. Leary?
We can't put this in a cost in our budget, so I think we need to move for the RFP. We don't have $130,000 to add to it, so it's kind of academic at this point. So I would support going forward with Mr. Lang's recommendations.
What's that recommendation? Send out an RFP? Then you would be committing $130,000 from the budget.
We don't need the RFP.
I really see your two options. You could do the RFP contingent upon grant funding if you wanted to, or you could just say at this point you don't want to move forward with the RFP and just vacate as of June 30th. Find another alternative location for the group to go to.
Yeah, I think the second recommendation from Mr. Lang is what we have to do. We don't have $130,000 to add to our budget. We need to vacate and look for another location with one of our locations facilities already. Thank you.
Anyone else wanted to discuss this? Mr. Lang?
Sure. If we do vacate, any suggestions what we're looking for?
Well, as we go through the budget process, one of the recommendations would be if we were to close a school, that the program and staff could move to the vacant school location. Additionally, we're going to have to look at backup plans, other properties that we have. It's basically 2 or 3 classrooms and a number of staff. So we could look at space at possibly at the high school. If we wanted to keep a downtown location, we could look at other school locations that may have space. But I can spend the number of weeks doing that as opposed to issuing, the RFP and moving forward under that.
All right, thank you. So we need to take a vote on vacating, so the motion would be to vacate the property on Palm Street.
Center, yes.
Yeah, so that would be the motion.
Motion by
Seconded.
John Leahy to vacate the present Literacy Center.
Present location.
On Palmer Street. and
26
seconded by Mr.
Palmer
Leary.
Street.
Roll call.
I need a second?
It's
Mr.
Mr.
Leary.
Leary, second.
Sorry, I didn't, I'll get that, okay? Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. And I'm happy you brought that forward. Under new business, I think we already took a vote on the interdistrict choice.
Yes, Your Honor.
We already took a vote on that?
Yes.
And convention and conference requests, Madam Superintendent?
Take them in their entirety, Your Honor?
Taken in entirety by Regina Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Connie Martin. Roll call.
Okay. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, wait a minute, I'll make sure I'm Fattacante. Sorry, Fattacante. Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Before we adjourn, I am going to go through the budget very carefully, and I expect every member of this committee to do the same. And we have a serious responsibility facing us, and we all know what that is. And to maintain that classroom teacher, education in the classroom, and take a look at this budget and do what you think is best for the best interests of the school children. Before we adjourn, the 2010 census is extremely, extremely important this time around. And when they took the census in 2000, I don't think they accurately counted every individual who lived in the city. So between April 20th and July 2009, the U.S. Census employees will be visiting every housing unit in the city. The Census Bureau must know the address and physical location of every place where people live or stay. Census employees will be wearing official identification and carrying handheld computers. The public should be not concerned if they see census employees in the neighborhood, and they are encouraged to provide the information requested. Information compiled during the census is not disclosed to any other city, state, or federal agency. The information is used to obtain only an accurate count of the residents of the city and helps to bring needed federal funding for vital city programs. And Madam Superintendent, I know the school department will be working very closely with us on this issue. Vaughn Ross is working tirelessly with various subcommittees and so forth. If we do not get an accurate count, the 5th Congressional District could suffer. So we don't want to lose that district, and I believe for every person that's counted, it's something like $30,000. It's mind-boggling. So we want to make sure that we do our job, and Madam Superintendent and the school department, we're going to need your help to do it. With that said, I want to thank you for an excellent meeting, and we have a long, long row ahead of us.
Motion to
Adjourned by
adjourn.
Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Leahy. Thank you.
Adjourned at 9:05.